حتى إذا جاء أمرنا وفارت النور قل نحمل فيها من كل زوجين اثنين وأهلك إلا من سبق عليه القول وما آمن معه إلا قليل.
Thus it was until our command came to pass, and the oven boiled over. We said, take into the ark a pair of every species, and take your own family, except those who have already been declared as unworthy. And also take everyone who believes. But those who, along with him, had believed were indeed just a few.
42. Different interpretations have been given of this, but we are of the opinion that the correct one is the one that is based on the plain words of the text. The deluge started from a tanur, a particular oven from under which water began to boil up. At the same time heavy rain began to fall and springs began to gush up water from many places in the earth. This is given in detail in ayats 11 to 12 of Surah Al-Qamar. We opened the gates of the sky from which it began to rain heavily and constantly, and we tore open the earth and springs began to gush forth water from every side. Thus the two kinds of water gathered together to fulfill the destined doom. In this connection, it should also be noted that the prefix al, the, before tanur, oven, shows that a particular oven had been specifically marked by God for the purpose of starting the deluge. This began to boil up water as soon as it was commanded to do so, and afterwards it began to be called the oven. It has been explicitly stated in Ayat 7 of Surah Al-Mu'minun that the said tanur was specified beforehand. 43. That is, don't embark in the ark those who had specifically been marked as unbelievers from your household, for they do not deserve to be shown our compassion. Most probably they were two persons. One was his son who was drowned, Ayat 43, and the other was his wife. Surah At-Tahrim, Ayat 10. And if there were any others, they have not been mentioned in the Quran. 44. Incidentally, this refutes the theory of the historians and genealogists who trace the genealogy of the whole human race to the three sons of Prophet Noah, peace be upon him. This wrong theory became prevalent because of the stories in the Bible that none other than Prophet Noah, peace be upon him, his three sons and his wife were rescued from the deluge. Genesis chapter 6 verses 18, 7, 9, and 9:19. But the Quran contradicts this in many places, saying that besides the people of his own household, some other people of his community, though small in number, were also rescued along with him. Moreover, the Quran declares that the generations which came after Prophet Noah, peace be upon him, were his descendants and of all those people. Who were rescued in the ark? You are the descendants of those whom we bore in the ark with Noah. Surah Al-Isra, Ayat 3. They were from the descendants of Adam, and from the seed of those whom we carried in the ark with Noah. Surah Maryam, Ayat 58.
وَقَالَ ارْكَبُوا فِيهَا بِسْمِ اللَّهِ مَجْرَاهَا وَمُرْسَاهَا إِنَّ رَبِّي لَغَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ.
Noah, peace be upon him, said, embark in it. In the name of Allah is its sailing and its anchorage. My Lord is ever forgiving, most merciful.
45. This humility shown by Prophet Noah, peace be upon him, that his delivery from the deluge was not due to his own plans, measures and efforts but to the mercy and compassion of his Lord, who is most forgiving, is the true characteristic of a believer. The servant of God adopts all necessary measures as a man of the world does, but he does not put his trust in those measures alone. Along with these he puts his trust in his Lord for their success, because he knows well that no measure can be adopted without his sanction, nor can it be put into practice, nor can it achieve the required object unless it is helped by the compassion and favor of Allah.
وهي تجري بهم في موج كالجبال ونادى نوح ابنه وكان في معزل يا بني اركب معنا ولا تكن مع الكافرين.
The ark sailed along with them amid mountain-like waves. Noah, peace be upon him, spotting his son at a distance, called out to him, "My son, embark with us, and do not be with the unbelievers."
قال سآوي إلى جبل يعصمني من الماء قال لا عاصم اليوم من أمر الله إلا من رحم وحال بينهما الموج فكان من المغرقين.
The son replied, "I will go to a mountain for refuge, and it will save me from the water." Noah, peace be upon him, said, "None can save anyone today from the command of Allah, except those on whom He may have mercy." Thereupon a wave swept in between the two, and he was drowned.
وَقِيلَ يَا أَرْضُ ابْلَعِي مَاءَكِ وَيَا سَمَاءُ أَقْلِعِي وَغِيضَ الْمَاءُ وَقُضِيَ الْأَمْرُ وَاسْتَوَتْ عَلَى الْجُودِيِّ وَقِيلَ بُعْدًا لِلْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ.
And the command was given, "Earth, swallow up your water, and heavens abate." So the water subsided. The command was fulfilled, and the ark settled on Mount Judy. And it was said, "Away with the wrongdoing folk." And
46. According to the Quran, the ark rested upon Mount Judy, which is situated to the northeast of Jazira ibn Umar in Kurdistan. But according to the Bible, its resting place was Mount Ararat in Armenia, which is one of the ranges of mountains of the same name that extends from Armenia to southern Kurdistan. Mount Judy is one of the mountains of the Ararat range, and is known by the same name even today. The ancient histories confirm that the resting place of the ark was Mount Judy. For instance, Berassus, a religious leader of Babylonia, who lived about 250 years before Christ, says in his History of the Chaldeans that Noah's ark rested upon Mount Judy. Abedinus, a pupil of Aristotle, not only confirms the same but also says that many people of Iraq of his time possessed pieces of the ark, which they ground in water and gave to the sick as a medicine. Now let us consider the question, did the deluge mentioned here cover the whole earth, or was it confined to that particular region where Prophet Noah, peace be upon him, lived? This is a question which has not been finally settled up to this day. As far as the Bible and the Israelite traditions are concerned, this was universal. Genesis chapter 7 verses 18 to 24. But the Quran is silent about it, though it does say things which show that the whole human race after the deluge was the descendant of Prophet Noah, peace be upon him, and of those with him in the ark, but this does not mean that the deluge covered all the earth. It may be explained like this: at that time of the history, the only region of the earth which was inhabited by the human race was the region in which Noah lived, and the generations which came after the deluge gradually spread over other parts of the earth. This theory is supported by two things. First, there is a conclusive proof that a great flood did come over the land of the Tigris and the Euphrates. This is confirmed by historical traditions, archaeological remains and geological evidence. But there are no such proofs in the other parts of the earth as might show that the deluge was universal. Secondly, traditions have come down to almost all the peoples of the earth living even in distant places like America and Australia, that once a great flood had come all over the earth. The only conclusion which can be drawn from the above is that at one time the forefathers of all the people of the earth lived at one place. But, when afterwards they spread over different lands in the earth, they carried the traditions of the deluge along with them. Refer to En. 47 of Surah Al-Araf.
ونادى نوح ربه فقال رب إن ابني من أهلي وإن وعدك الحق وأنت أحكم الحاكمين.
And Noah, peace be upon him, called out to his Lord, saying, My Lord, my son is of my family. Surely your promise is true, and you are the best of those who judge.
Point 47. That is, you promised that you will save the members of my family from this calamity. So save my son, for he is also a member of my family. 48. That is, you are the greatest of all rulers. Therefore your decision is final and there can be no appeal against it. And you are the best of all rulers. Therefore all your decisions are based on perfect knowledge and absolute justice.
قال يا نوح إنه ليس من أهلك إنه عمل غير صالح فلا تسألني ما ليس لك به علم إني أعظك أن تكون من الجاهلين.
In response, Noah, peace be upon him, was told, Most certainly he is not of your family. Verily, he is of unrighteous conduct. So do not ask of me for that concerning which you have no knowledge. I admonish you never to act like the ignorant ones.
49. Allah has called the wicked son of Prophet Noah, peace be upon him, as his conduct was other than righteous. For children are entrusted by the Creator to the care of parents so that they may bring them up and train them to become good persons, and fulfill the purpose for which He created man. If a father does his very best to process and turn the child into a righteous person, but fails in his efforts, the child, who was a sort of raw material in his hands, would be likened to a worthless act. It is obvious that the wicked son was a worthless act, for he was not the sort of good work which his father had desired him to be. So in this sense he did not belong to the family of Prophet Noah, peace be upon him, whom the Creator had sent to mold all his people into good acts, especially those who were of his own flesh and blood. Thus that unrighteous son had forfeited all the rights of blood he had with the Prophet as far as the torment of the deluge was concerned. Now let us consider the other question. Why was not the request of the Prophet regarding his own flesh and blood granted? The answer is this: if any part of the body of a man becomes so rotten that the surgeon is of the definite opinion that that part must be cut off for the sake of the safety of the rest of the body, the surgeon will not comply with the request of the man not to cut that part of his body, but will say, "It is not a part of your body because it is rotten." This will not, however, mean that it was never actually a part of the body, but will imply only this: as it has ceased to function rightly as a part of the body, it is no more a part of the body in the sense and for the purpose the healthy parts of the body are its parts. Likewise, when it was said to Prophet Noah, peace be upon him, he is not of your family, it did not negate the fact that he was from his loins but implied, he does not deserve to be treated as a member of your righteous family because of his spoiled morals and conduct. As the torment of the deluge has been brought about to punish those who had sided with the unbelievers in the conflict of kufr and faith, your son does not deserve to be rescued from it along with the believers. Had it been a conflict between your descendants and those of the unbelievers, the result would have been different, but this being a conflict between the righteous and the unrighteous, the former alone will be delivered from it. The epithet, a worthless act, has been purposely applied to the son of Noah, for it is very meaningful. It points to the two different objects that the parents have in view in bringing up their children. Those parents who look merely at the surface of things, bring up and love their children because they are from their loins or their wombs, irrespective of the fact whether they are righteous or unrighteous. But this epithet requires the believers to look upon their children as pieces of work entrusted to them in a natural way by their Creator, so that they should prepare and mold them so as to fulfill the object for which Allah has created man. Therefore, if a certain parent fails in his efforts to mold his child in a way to fulfill the very object for which the child was entrusted to him, and the latter becomes a servant of Satan instead of his Lord, the parent should regard all his efforts for the child to have gone utterly waste. In that case, there is no reason why that parent should have any consideration for that worthless act. As a corollary to the above, the same rule will apply to the other relationships of a believer. As a believer is one who believes in certain creeds and behaviors, all his relationships with the other people will be determined by those creeds and behaviors. If his blood relations have the qualities of a believer, their relationship with him becomes doubly stronger. But if they are void of the qualities of a believer, the believer will confine his relationship with them only to the extent of blood relationships and will have no spiritual relationship with them. Consequently, if such a relative comes face to face with the believer in the conflict between kufr and the faith, the believer should fight with him just as he would with any other unbeliever. 50. This warning from his Lord does not mean that Prophet Noah, peace be upon him, was suffering from the lack of faith, or that his faith had any tinge of weakness, or that he had beliefs like those of the ignorant people. His response to this is rather a proof of his high moral character. As Noah was like the other prophets, a human being, he also suffered from the common human weakness, that is, natural parental love for children. So he begged his Lord to deliver his son from the deluge. Allah admonished him because the high character of a prophet demanded that he ought not to have made such a request even for his own flesh and blood. That is why no sooner was the warning administered to him than he realized that he had come down from the high position of a prophet to the level of a mere father because of the critical psychological human weakness. Therefore, immediately after the warning, he repented of his weakness, and behaved as if his own son had not been drowned in the deluge a moment before this. This character shown by him is a clear proof that he was a true prophet. He returned to the same height and meekly asked his Lord's forgiveness for showing any concern for his own son who had forsaken the truth and sided with falsehood.
قال رب إني أعوذ بك أن أسألك ما ليس لي به علم وإلا تغفر لي وترحمني أكن من الخاسرين.
Noah, peace be upon him, said, My Lord, I take refuge with you, that I should ask you for that concerning which I have no knowledge. And if you do not forgive me, and do not show mercy to me, I shall be among the losers.
51. The Quran has cited the story of the drowning of the son of Prophet Noah, peace be upon him, to bring home to the people that Allah's decrees are absolutely just and final. This also served as a warning to the Quraysh who considered themselves to be immune from the torment of Allah simply because they were the descendants of Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him, and had several gods and goddesses as their interceders. Likewise, it was a warning to the Jews and the Christians who cherished, and still cherish, such beliefs, nay, even to those Muslims, who foolishly believe that their saintly ancestors and holy people will guard them against the consequences of the justice of Allah. For the tragic scene depicted here categorically refutes such false expectations and beliefs, saying, O foolish people! Why do you cherish such false hopes? When our prophet Noah could not save his son who was drowned before his very eyes, and his prayer for the son was not only rejected but he was rebuked for making such a prayer, how can you then expect that anyone much less than a prophet can deliver you from the justice of Allah?
قيل يا نوح اهبط بسلام منا وبركات عليك وعلى ممن معك وأمم سنمتعهم ثم يمسهم منا عذاب أليم.
It was said, Noah, peace be upon him, disembark with our peace and with blessings upon you and upon those who are with you. There are also people whom we shall allow to enjoy themselves for a while, and then a painful chastisement from us shall afflict them.
52. That is, go down from the mountain on which the ark is resting.
تلك من أنباء الغيب نوحيها إليك ما كنت تعلمها أنت ولا قومك من قبل هذا فاصبر إن العاقبة للمتقين.
We reveal to you these accounts of matters that are beyond the reach of perception. Neither you nor your people knew about them before this. Be patient then. Surely the good end is for the God-fearing.
53. That is, you and your companions will come out successful at the end of the conflict just as Prophet Noah, peace be upon him, and his companions did. For this is the divine law that those who exert for the right cause, avoiding erroneous ways for fear of Allah, should come out successful in the end, even though they should meet with failures in the beginning of the conflict at the hands of the enemies of the truth. Therefore you should patiently bear the afflictions which you are suffering and stand steadfast against the obstacles you are encountering in the way, and you should not be in the least disheartened by the painful and superficial successes of your enemies. If you practice fortitude, you will come out successful in the end like Noah and his companions.